Humanity had always gazed at the stars, wondering if they were truly alone in the vastness of space. For centuries, scientists and dreamers had speculated on the existence of alien life. In the beginning, the search was humble. Radio telescopes scanning distant signals for signs of intelligence. Then came the space probes, venturing farther into the cosmos, sending back images of distant worlds, moons, and stars. But it wasn't until the year 2450 that the first true evidence of extraterrestrial life emerged, not in the form of a distant radio wave or an alien signal, but a direct, unmistakable message. It arrived without warning. There was no time to prepare for it, no indication that this would be the moment humanity had been waiting for. The message came in a cryptic burst of data, transmitted directly to Earth's communications network. The signal's origin was from a star system located nearly 200 light-years from Earth, far beyond the reaches of human exploration at the time. The message itself was simple but powerful. We seek the one who is unarmed. It was a statement, not a question, and it reverberated across every channel of communication. The data had been meticulously analyzed, but there were no clear explanations, no translations, only those 5 words. Who were they? What did they mean? And why did they want someone unarmed? Humanity was no stranger to mystery. For years, astronomers and scientists had speculated about the possibility of alien civilizations. The discovery of the message brought with it a sense of wonder, but also a deep sense of fear. Who were these beings? Were they friendly? Or would they be the harbingers of a new era of conflict? The United Earth Federation, UEF, the governing body that represented humanity's unified political and military interests, immediately assembled a council to address the discovery. Representatives from all fields were called upon, diplomats, military strategists, and scientists alike. The debate was heated, with many urging caution. The fear of the unknown weighed heavily on everyone's mind. But there was one thing the council could agree upon. They had to respond. To ignore the message would mean forfeiting humanity's place in the galaxy, an opportunity they could not afford to miss. The task fell to an unlikely candidate, a woman who was, perhaps, the most unarmed person the UEF could send. Dr. Evelyn Damaris was an expert in alien cultures, known for her deep understanding of interspecies diplomacy. Her career had focused on resolving conflicts, building bridges where others had failed. But Dr. Damaris was also a pacifist. She had no military experience, no training in combat. She was, in the eyes of many, an unconventional choice. But there was something about her approach to diplomacy, her ability to communicate with others in ways that transcended language, that made her the perfect candidate. Evelyn had always believed that the true strength of humanity lay not in its weapons or its armies, but in its capacity for empathy, for understanding. She knew that peace was not just the absence of war, it was a conscious effort to connect with others on a deeper level, to see beyond differences and find common ground. When the UEF approached her with the task, she had hesitated. The stakes were impossibly high. This mission could alter the course of human history. But the message was clear. They wanted someone who was unarmed, not just in the physical sense, but someone who came without the baggage of violence, without the desire to impose humanity's will upon others. Evelyn knew that in this case, her philosophy was not a weakness, it was a strength. So, she agreed. The journey to the distant star system was long and uneventful, but it gave Evelyn plenty of time to reflect on the task ahead. The ship she traveled in, the Concorde, was a marvel of human engineering, capable of reaching nearly 1/4 the speed of light. Still, even at that speed, it took over 2 months to reach the distant coordinates where the signal had originated. During the journey, Evelyn spent her days in quiet contemplation, studying the limited data they had on the alien civilization. She read through translations of their communication patterns, piecing together fragments of understanding about who they might be. The Valorians, as they were later identified, had a deep connection to their world, a civilization built not on technological dominance, but on harmony with nature. Their cities were not constructed with metal and stone, but with organic materials that grew and evolved over time, like living organisms. The more she learned, the more Evelyn felt that the Valorians were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Their communication was also unlike anything humanity had experienced. The Valorians didn't speak with words alone. They used a combination of telepathy, light signals, and even emotions to convey meaning. This made it difficult to predict their intentions or even to interpret the simple message they had sent. What did it mean to be unarmed in their eyes? And why had they specifically chosen humanity? The deeper she delved into the mystery, the more questions arose. But Evelyn knew that the only way to find answers was to meet them face to face, to take that first step toward understanding. "How far is it to wonky control?" I asked, before an outburst is predictable. When the ship arrived in orbit around the Valorian homeworld, Evelyn felt an overwhelming sense of awe. The planet was beautiful, almost otherworldly. The surface was covered in lush green landscapes, with rivers of iridescent water winding through valleys. Towering structures of living crystal rose from the surface, their surfaces shimmering with energy. It was a world that seemed to pulse with life, and yet there was a profound stillness to it, a sense of calm that hung in the air. Evelyn's shuttle descended slowly toward the planet's surface. As she looked out the window, she could see the Valorians gathering below. They were unlike anything she had imagined. Tall and graceful, their translucent bodies glowed with bioluminescence, their skin shifting in hues of blue and green. Their eyes were deep pools of light, reflecting an ancient wisdom that Evelyn could only begin to comprehend. Her shuttle touched down in a large clearing and the doors opened. The Valorians had come to greet her, but not in the way that humans would have expected. There were no fanfares, no military salutes, only a quiet procession of beings, standing in perfect harmony. Evelyn stepped out of the shuttle, her heart racing, but she held herself steady. There was a deep sense of reverence in the air, but no fear. One figure stepped forward, a being taller than the rest, with eyes that glowed with a pale silver light. It was Solon, the Valorian leader, and it was Solon who would be the first to speak. "You are the one who is unarmed," Solon's voice echoed in Evelyn's mind. It was not a sound, but a thought transmitted directly into her consciousness. She understood instantly. The Valorians were telepathic. "I am," Evelyn responded, her voice calm but filled with wonder. "I have come to learn and to share. I come in peace." Solon regarded her silently for a moment, and then motioned for her to follow. The procession led her through the shimmering city, a place where buildings seemed to pulse with life. The structures were not static. They appeared to grow, their forms shifting and changing, as though the city itself was alive. As they walked, Evelyn couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The beauty of the world was undeniable, but there was something unsettling about it, something hidden just beneath the surface. The Valorians were too perfect, too harmonious. There was a tension in the air, a subtle undercurrent of fear that Evelyn could not ignore. "Why did you call for humanity?" Evelyn asked, her voice quiet, yet urgent. "What do you seek from us?" Solon turned to her, his eyes glowing brighter now. "You are unpredictable," he said, his thought resonating in her mind. "Your kind is different. You are not bound by the same laws of harmony that govern us. You are wild, and that is why we need you." Evelyn's brow furrowed. "Why would you need wildness? Why would you need unpredictability?" Solon's thoughts grew darker. We are being watched. The galaxy is being watched. And there are those who wish to stamp out anything that does not conform to their vision of order. The harbingers are coming. At that moment, Evelyn understood. This was not just a peaceful encounter. The Valorians had not reached out to humanity for friendship. They had reached out because they were desperate. The galaxy was on the brink of something far darker than anyone had ever anticipated. And humanity, with all its unpredictability, might be the only force capable of resisting it. The realization hit Evelyn like a wave. The galaxy had never been the same. She had come to this distant world seeking peace, seeking understanding. But now she was about to be thrust into a conflict that would alter the course of history. The Valorians, with their calm and harmony, were no longer the only ones who would shape the future of the galaxy. Humanity had a role to play, whether they were ready for it or not. The discovery had only just begun. The journey toward the Valorian homeworld had been a long one, but it was not the distance that had consumed Evelyn's thoughts. It was the weight of the message. The cryptic transmission that humanity had received, and the staggering responsibility it placed on her shoulders. Humanity was, for the first time in its history, facing a choice that could not be undone. No longer was it merely a question of exploring the cosmos, of expanding humanity's reach into the unknown. Now, humanity was being asked to play a pivotal role in the future of the galaxy. Evelyn Damaris had prepared for many things over the years: countless diplomatic missions, negotiations with alien species, research into the cultural intricacies of civilizations that spanned the stars. But she had never prepared for this. It was one thing to speak of peace and unity, to extend the hand of diplomacy in times of conflict, but it was quite another to be thrust into the heart of a galaxy, teetering on the edge of annihilation. As the shuttle descended onto the surface of Valoria, Evelyn's mind was awash with uncertainty. What did it mean to be unarmed, as the message had requested? She had assumed the term referred to the lack of physical weapons, but as she stood on the precipice of this first contact, she wondered if it signified something deeper, something more fundamental about the nature of humanity's place in the cosmos. Was it possible that the very essence of human civilization, its unpredictable, sometimes chaotic nature, held the key to a future none of them could yet see? The Valorian homeworld was a sight unlike anything she had ever imagined. From orbit it was a jewel, lush and vibrant, teeming with life in ways that felt foreign even to her, despite all her years of research. The planet had been described in reports as an Eden, a living paradise where harmony existed between all things. But as Evelyn gazed down at the surface from her shuttle window, she could sense that there was something more to it. So what better place than the one which his life had spent? The shuttle touched down in a large clearing that seemed to blend seamlessly into the natural landscape. The ground was soft beneath her feet, and as the doors of the shuttle hissed open, she was greeted by the soft, warm breeze of the planet's atmosphere. The air felt different, thicker somehow, as if the very molecules around her were infused with the life of the world. She stepped out cautiously, her eyes scanning the scene before her. A group of Valorians waited for her. They stood in a perfect line, their forms towering above her, each one radiating an ethereal glow. Their skin was translucent, tinged with faint hues of blue, green, and violet, and their eyes glowed with an intensity that reminded her of distant stars. There was an almost otherworldly grace to their movements, a fluidity that made them seem more like the wind itself than solid beings. At the front of the group stood Solon, the leader of the Valorians. Solon's presence was overwhelming in its tranquility. Like a calm sea, his mind seemed to stretch out infinitely. His form was taller than the others, his features sharper, yet there was nothing predatory about him. In fact, his face held a deep serenity that made Evelyn feel both awe and unease in equal measure. "Welcome, Ambassador," Solon's voice echoed in her mind. The words were not spoken aloud, but transmitted directly into her consciousness, bypassing the need for any spoken language. Evelyn smiled warmly, despite the unease she felt. "I am honored to be here." Solon's glowing eyes met hers. "You are the one who is unarmed." The words hung heavy in the air, and Evelyn's breath caught in her chest. She had been told of this moment, but hearing it, feeling it, was entirely different. She was, indeed, unarmed, not just physically, but in a way that she now realized went far beyond the literal. It was a feeling that stirred deep within her. She was the representative of humanity's potential for peace, not through force, but through understanding. She had been chosen not for her ability to dominate, but for her ability to connect. "I am," Evelyn replied, her voice calm and measured. "I come in peace, and I am here to learn." Although nobody spoke, they all felt a sense of calm. Solon regarded her with a kind of reverence, but there was something more to his gaze, something deeper, a flicker of something else. He turned, motioning for her to follow. As she walked alongside him, the rest of the Valorians fell into step behind her. The air was thick with the hum of unseen energy, and the world around her felt alive in ways that almost felt unnatural. The path they walked was unlike anything she had ever encountered. It wasn't a road or a pathway in the conventional sense. The ground seemed to shift beneath her feet, as if the earth itself was adapting to the presence of its inhabitants. Trees with bioluminescent leaves swayed gently in the breeze, casting a soft, ethereal glow that illuminated the world around them. The structures, if they could even be called that, rose from the ground like organic spires, their forms constantly shifting and reshaping, as though they were part of the planet's own living system. It was as though the entire city were a single sentient organism, breathing and pulsating with life. As they moved deeper into the heart of the Valorian settlement, Evelyn could sense the strange harmony that pervaded the air. The people here seemed to be in perfect sync with their environment, their movements fluid and purposeful. Yet beneath the tranquility, Evelyn could feel an undercurrent of tension, a subtle but palpable unease. "Why did you choose humanity?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She had long since abandoned the pretense of formality. This was not just a diplomatic visit. This was a moment of revelation, one that would shape the future of the galaxy. Solon's voice filled her mind again, this time softer, more somber. "Your species has the capacity for great unpredictability. You are unlike any we have encountered before. You are capable of things that we cannot fully comprehend, things that we, as a species, have lost." Evelyn's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Solon paused, his luminous eyes reflecting a deep sadness. "We were once like you, wild, unpredictable, free. But we have evolved, for better or worse, into something different. We have reached a point where our world no longer knows chaos, no longer knows the unpredictable nature of life. We have eliminated all conflict, all discord." Evelyn couldn't help but feel a shiver run down her spine. The Valorians spoke of a kind of perfection, a harmony that had removed all disorder, but something in their tone suggested that this perfection came at a cost. Solon continued, "We seek you because you still have what we no longer possess, the ability to adapt, to create, to fight when necessary. You are unburdened by the constraints that we have placed upon ourselves, and it is this quality that may be the key to our survival." Evelyn's mind raced, trying to process what Solon was saying. It sounded like a plea, a desperate cry for help. The Valorians, it seemed, had reached the pinnacle of their civilization, but at what cost? They had eliminated all conflict, all unpredictability, and in doing so, had lost the very thing that made them capable of fighting back against the true threat that now loomed over them. As the group approached a central gathering place, a large plaza filled with shimmering crystalline structures, Solon turned to face Evelyn once more. "There is a darkness coming, a force unlike any you have ever encountered. The Harbingers. Tell me about it." The name sent a chill down Evelyn's spine. She had heard whispers of the Harbingers in the dark corners of the diplomatic world, rumors of a species that sought to bring order to the galaxy at any cost, eliminating anything that stood in their way. But to hear it spoken so openly, to have it confirmed, was something else entirely. "What are they?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely a whisper. Solon's eyes darkened. The Harbingers are an ancient species, driven by a singular purpose, to impose absolute order on the galaxy. They believe that only through the eradication of chaos can true peace be achieved. They seek to eliminate all that does not conform to their vision of the universe. Evelyn felt a growing sense of dread. The Harbingers were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They were something much more insidious. They sought not to expand their empire, but to eradicate the very essence of life as it existed. Anything that dared to be unpredictable, to be free. "They're coming for you," Evelyn said, the realization settling in her gut like a stone. "And you're asking humanity to fight them?" Solon nodded solemnly. "Yes. You are the only species capable of resisting them. Your unpredictability is your strength. It is what makes you wild, and it is what makes you dangerous to them." Evelyn stood there, processing everything she had just learned. The galaxy was on the brink of a catastrophe, and humanity, with all its flaws, its chaotic beauty, had been called upon to stop it. She had thought that her mission here was about peace, about forging a new alliance. But it had become so much more than that. Humanity had been sent an invitation not just to join a galactic community, but to save it. But how? How could humanity, a species so young and so unprepared, stand against the Harbingers? The answers were not clear, but one thing was certain. Humanity's future was now tied to the fate of the galaxy. And the discovery of the Valorians had only just begun to reveal the scale of what was to come. The city of Valoria pulsed with an energy that was almost otherworldly, its organic structures shimmering in the soft light of the setting sun. Evelyn stood in the center of a vast plaza, her mind racing as she absorbed Solon's words. The Harbingers were not just a threat to the Valorians, they were a threat to the very fabric of the galaxy itself. Her thoughts kept wandering. For the first time since she had received the call to become humanity's unarmed ambassador, Evelyn realized the weight of her mission. She was not here simply to make friends or build alliances. She had been sent to save the galaxy from an existential threat. The Valorians, with their peaceful society, were unable to defend themselves from the coming darkness. They had evolved beyond chaos and unpredictability, and now they found themselves on the precipice of destruction. Evelyn had come to Valoria expecting a diplomatic mission. What she had received was a call to arms. But she was unarmed. She had no weapons, no armies to command. She was a single individual in a galaxy teetering on the edge of annihilation. How could she hope to stand against such a formidable foe as the Harbingers? What? A personal... Solon's voice broke through her thoughts, once again filling her mind with calm, yet urgent clarity. "You must understand, Ambassador, that we are not asking you to fight in the way your species is accustomed to. We are not asking for a conventional war. What we need from you is the strength to resist the imposition of absolute order. The harbingers will seek to suppress your individuality, your unpredictability. It is this very quality, the freedom to act outside of the parameters of rigid structure, that makes your species unique. It is what they fear the most. Evelyn took a deep breath and closed her eyes, trying to steady herself. The enormity of her role was suffocating. But the one thing she had learned over the years of serving as a mediator was that panic had no place in diplomacy. The galaxy was indeed in peril, but she had no choice but to remain calm, to focus. For now, she was their only hope. "You say that we must resist their imposition of order," Evelyn began, her voice firm. "But how? How can humanity resist something so ancient, so powerful?" Solon's glowing eyes softened. "The harbingers are not as invincible as they believe. Their greatest weakness is their inability to adapt. They are rigid in their beliefs, uncompromising. That is why they seek to erase the chaos in the universe. But chaos, unpredictability, change, growth, is what allows life to evolve. It is what makes civilizations thrive." Evelyn nodded slowly, considering his words. "And you believe that humanity, with its inherent chaos, is the key to defeating them?" "Yes," Solon replied. "Your species may be young, but you have something that even the oldest civilizations do not: the ability to innovate, to challenge the status quo. It is this quality that can thwart the harbingers. We need your unpredictability, your adaptability. The harbingers will try to impose their vision of order on everything they encounter. You must teach them that the galaxy does not belong to order alone, but to freedom, to the ability to shape the future through choice." Evelyn felt a surge of determination rising within her. It wasn't much, but it was a start, a clear purpose. The harbingers had come to subjugate the galaxy, to force it into a mold that suited their vision of perfection. Humanity, with its messiness, its imperfections, its wild creativity, was the only species capable of resisting them. If she could rally the galaxy's races, if she could unite them with the same message, if she could unite them with the same message, if she could unite them with the same intensity, if she could unite them with the same message, if she could unite them with the same intensity, perhaps they had a chance. But how would she convince others? The galaxy was vast, and many species had their own agendas. The Velars themselves, despite their peaceful nature, had little capacity for the kind of resistance required. Their society was built on harmony, not conflict, and their strength lay in their ability to live in balance with nature. Against a foe like the harbingers, that might not be enough. "We are prepared to assist you in this endeavor," Solon continued, his voice steady. "We have gathered those who would stand with us, but we need more. You must unite the factions that have the strength to resist, and you must inspire them." Evelyn felt the weight of that responsibility like a heavy cloak settling around her shoulders. She had come to Valoria with the goal of learning, of opening a dialogue. Now she was a messenger, a symbol of hope to a galaxy on the brink of war. There was no turning back. The following days passed in a blur of meetings, discussions, and strategies. Evelyn met with representatives from various Valorian factions, each one offering their support in the face of the Harbinger threat. The Valorians were united in their fear, but their methods of resistance varied. Some wished to retreat deeper into their world, focusing solely on defense. Others were more eager to take the fight to the Harbingers. Evelyn understood the need for unity, but there was a growing sense that not all of the Valorians agreed on the best course of action. Amid these talks, Evelyn began to formulate a plan. A difficult and dangerous plan, but one that was perhaps the only option available. She would need to send out messages across the galaxy, not just to the Valorians, but to all the civilizations that humanity had encountered over the years. She would call upon them to join the resistance, to stand against the harbingers and their oppressive order. It would not be easy. There were races out there, powerful, ancient races, that might see the harbingers as a threat, but also as a potential ally in the pursuit of total control. She would need to be persuasive. She would need to convince them that the true enemy was not the chaotic, unpredictable nature of the galaxy, but the crushing weight of absolute order. She would need to be unarmed, yes, but she would also need to be armed with something far more powerful, the ability to inspire. As she prepared for her journey back to Earth to begin her mission, Evelyn found herself sitting in the quiet of a small chamber within the Valorian capital. The air was thick with the subtle hum of energy, and the light from outside cast long, ethereal shadows across the room. She had always been a woman of intellect, of reason, but now, as she sat alone, a wave of doubt began to creep in. Could she truly do this? Could she unite the galaxy in a common cause? The weight of her responsibility felt even heavier here, in this place that was both beautiful and fragile. The Valorians had asked her to lead a resistance, but Evelyn knew that it was not her alone who could carry the burden. The galaxy was vast, and countless civilizations would need to be convinced that the harbingers were a threat they could not ignore. She thought of Earth, the home she had left behind. It was a world that had grown stronger through its challenges, its wars, its revolutions. Earth had always been a place of turmoil, a place where the wildness of human nature had shaped its history. She would return to that chaos, to the unpredictability that made humanity so dangerous, and yet so resilient. Suddenly, a soft, familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. "You are not alone, Ambassador." Solon's voice entered her mind, gentle and reassuring. "We will be with you every step of the way. The Valorians are not as strong as your people, but we will stand with you. Together, we can defeat the harbingers." Evelyn smiled softly, grateful for the support, but she knew it was not enough. The Valorians could not fight this battle alone. Humanity would have to take the lead. They were the wild card in this cosmic game, the only species with the creativity and unpredictability to stand against the might of the harbingers. As Evelyn prepared to leave Valoria, a thought lingered in her mind. What if the galaxy could be united? What if this was the moment humanity had been waiting for? The moment when it could prove that its imperfections, its chaotic, undepictable nature were not weaknesses, but strengths. She stepped out into the plaza, feeling the weight of her mission settle around her once more. The universe was vast, and the threat of the harbingers was real, but Evelyn had one thing on her side: humanity's greatest weapon, the capacity for change, for innovation, for adaptation. She was unarmed, but she had something far more powerful than any weapon: the hope of a galaxy that had not yet realized its true potential. And that, she thought, could be enough.